see a better life, yeah, share the life. When the youth them know we gotta try, they'll make the rise. If you want to see a better life, yeah, share the life. When the youth them know we gotta try.
So why we allow this administration to erode our democracy? This is a democratic society, and therefore every creed and race must find an equal place.
Yeah, make the rise. If you want to see a better life, yeah, share the life. When the youth them know we gotta try, they'll make the rise. If you want to see a better life, yeah, share the life. When the youth them know we gotta try.
So I am calling on every youth, I am calling on every citizen. Let us unite and save Trinidad and Tobago. For far too long we have been exploited. For far too long we have been neglected. The time has come where we must stand united in order to save our country. Yes, my brothers and my sisters.
Yeah, make the rise. If you want to see a better life, yeah, share the life. When the youth them know we gotta try, they'll make the rise. If you want to see a better life, yeah, share the life. When the youth them know we gotta try.
And let us fight to defend our democracy in this country. Let us stand together.
Yeah. The cry from the ghetto, and the way on them like they don't care about nobody now. Make the rise. If you want to see a better life, yeah, share the life. When the youth them know we gotta try, they'll make the rise. If you want to see a better life, yeah, share the life. When the youth them know we gotta try.
So why we allow this administration to erode our democracy? This is a democratic society, and therefore every creed and race must find an equal place.
Yeah, make the rise. If you want to see a better life, yeah, share the life. When the youth them know we gotta try, they'll make the rise. If you want to see a better life, yeah, share the life. When the youth them know we gotta try.
So I am calling on every youth, I am calling on every citizen. Let us unite and save Trinidad and Tobago. For far too long we have been exploited. For far too long we have been neglected. The time has come where we must stand united in order to save our country. Yes, my brothers and my sisters.
Yeah, make the rise. If you want to see a better life, yeah, share the life. When the youth them know we gotta try, they'll make the rise. If you want to see a better life, yeah, share the life. When the youth them know we gotta try.
And let us fight to defend our democracy in this country. Let us stand together.
Yeah. The cry from the ghetto, and the way on them like they don't care about nobody now. Make the rise. If you want to see a better life, yeah, share the life. When the youth them know we gotta try, they'll make the rise. If you want to see a better life, yeah, share the life. When the youth them know we gotta try.
So why we allow this administration to erode our democracy? This is a democratic society, and therefore every creed and race must find an equal place.
Yeah, make the rise. If you want to see a better life, yeah, share the life. When the youth them know we gotta try, they'll make the rise. If you want to see a better life, yeah, share the light. When the youth them know we gotta try.
So I am calling on every youth. I am calling on every citizen. Let us unite and save Trinidad and Tobago. For far too long we have been exploited. For far too long we have been neglected. The time has come where we must stand united in order to save our country. Yes, my brothers and my sisters.
Yeah, Victor vibes. If you want to see a better life, yeah, share the light. When the youth them know we gotta try. Victor vibes. If you want to see a better life, yeah, share the light. When the youth them know we gotta try.
And let us fight to defend our democracy in this country. Let us stand together.
Yeah. We cry from the ghetto. On the way on them, like they don't care about the money now. Victor vibes. If you want to see a better life, yeah, share the light. When the youth them know we gotta try. Victor vibes. If you want to see a better life, yeah, share the light. When the youth them
And everyone, welcome to Facts Not Fiction. Of course, today being Sunday, it's good as any other day as we continue to bring the facts to you, the listening public. We want to welcome all our viewers on various social media platforms. Welcome. And of course, today, as usual, we will disseminate some of the facts to you in relation to governance as it is in our country. First of all, I want to just go back to a situation that occurred a few days ago. Coming out of a few days ago, we have learned where one of the Prime Minister good friend of the Prime Minister, I think we might have a picture somewhere there that you will see where they bouncing shoulders, a gentleman by the name of Damian Ling and Keith Christopher Rowley. And for some reason, it seems as though that the partners and friends of the Prime Minister, here it is, the partner and friends of the Prime Minister, it seems as though they have some sort of attraction to not complying with law and order. And this is not the first friend of the Prime Minister who found himself in this situation, The Prime Minister have a number of friends that he boasts of as being his friend and boasts of calling his friends to see what problem they are in. And this is not the first one. We had Devki Singh, who was not only a friend of the Prime Minister, but a candidate which was handpicked and selected by the Prime Minister to fight the leader of the opposition in the constituency of Siparia. We also had another friend of the Prime Minister, Mr. Bash from down in the San Francisco area, who the Prime Minister had to call in relation to the fake oil scandal. And then, of course, we have Mr. Ling now, who the police had reason to have put him under surveillance, where they
the moving at the appropriate time when his firearm was in the hands of a individual who does not have FUL, and then further to searching one of his premises in the San Fernando area, a catchment of assorted high-power weapons, and I believe it's just there about 800 rounds of assorted ammunition were also found. And this is the friends. These are the friends of the Prime Minister. These are the friends of the Prime Minister. And of course, we also have some good colleagues at the Prime Minister who is also so-called under investigation. We also have a colleague of the Prime Minister by the name of Camille Robinson Regis. And Camille Robinson Regis, a couple years now, there's an investigation that is sitting on the Commissioner of Police lap. And I have to say his lap, because I believe if it was on the desk and it follow office procedures, then if you ever do office procedure in school, you will understand that coming out of office procedures, there is a number of activities that will follow when documentation comes to especially the CEO of the police service, who we can consider as the police commissioner or acting commissioner, and then it will move after signatures. It will designate to different members of the protective service, and eventually it will be in the hands of the DPP, who we're going to discuss a little later, to see if the DPP is part of the Cosa Nostra trust. And then you will find out that the legal pathway, which will be the courts, will have its way in determining whether or not there is a matter to be answered to, and therefore the court will do its job and the people of the country will receive justice. And then, of course, we have another colleague handpicked by the Prime Minister, even while he was a senator, and a special branch report, which was sent to the authorities, ended up with top secret on it, which is Minister Foster Cummins, the Minister of Youth Development, whatever that may be in the eyes of the Prime Minister. And even though this report was outstanding, yet to the end of the day, Keith Christopher Rowley went ahead and removed Foster from being a senator and made him a candidate to fight as a seat on behalf of the PNM, and then made him a minister, even while serious allegations of land grabbing, allegations of being associated with gang members or drug dealers, and so forth and so forth. And that is two. And as we continue to look, we will examine a little later the former Attorney General conduct, where even activists, social media activists who belongs to the PNM, they were advocating that Faris had to be removed from Attorney General, and they were also saying that there is a number of issues that Faris need to answer. We had the allegation of the Porsche that was sold, and the failure to obey the law in having that motor vehicle, the said motor vehicle, transferred, and checks that were made out, and so much of allegation. And yet to the end of the day, the Prime Minister would move him from being the Attorney General and still put in his hands a ministerial portfolio where he can continue to do what he accustomed doing. You see, I cannot understand why you will have a piece of cheese on the table, and while it's on the table, the cat will constantly attack the cheese. And all you will do is to move the cheese from the table, and you will put the cheese on the counter. And you still have the cat. You still have the cat in the house. And once the cat in the house, the cheese would be attacked. It is simply a case of just moving the cat and the cheese from the public eyes, from an important position, and yet to the end of the day, still put him in a position where the cheese can be attacked. And that is simple what is happening. Then, of course, we have, apart from the Faris Alwari situation, we also have situation where allegations were also made against Rohan Sinanan in terms of land being purchased and sold, and land being sold for the government to build interchange, and building being sold, and a number of allegations. And then, of course, we have, well, the list is so many. Then we had, of course, Ayanna Webster Roy, who sits in the office of the Prime Minister. And of course, I will continue to remind you of the pedophiles that anchor themselves within the People's National Movement. I will again remind you of the Judith Jones report that came forward. And yet to the end of the day, we had Ayanna and Keith Rowley, who were in possession of that report. And yet to the end of the day, what we have seen is that report being shelved for over 6 months, going on 7-8 months. Our children continue to remain vulnerable to those predators who are really anchored within the People's National Movement. And these children remain a feeding ground. As we speak, it remains a feeding ground for these wicked animals to abuse and to have fun with our children. You know, I remember going to school, we will see a frog at the side of the road, a crapo. And as a school child, we will kick that crapo. And when we kick that crapo, somebody on the other side will kick the crapo back across the road, and we will play football with that crapo. Coming to understand the whole theory about that scenario, old people or elderly people always say, what is joke for school children is death for crapo, because by the time we finish kick life out of that crapo, he dead. And that is what is happening. By the time the Prime Minister sits and speak about task force going to be appointed, and when you look at the serious nature of the report, which speaks to what is happening now in those homes, it tells you, ladies and gentlemen, what kind of Prime Minister we have running this country, what kind of ministers that sit within the cabinet, and of course, added to that, ladies and gentlemen, it also tells you about the character of those who sits at the helm of leading this country. And the list can go on and on and on in relations to allegation previously between 2015 and from 2015 to 2020, and then from 2020 to now. The list goes on. And we even have the Prime Minister himself, who ought to be, as far as I'm concerned, either under house arrest for the serious allegations that hang over his head, 400,000+ as a gift, not disclosing totally his integrity form, information on his integrity form, allegedly. We have the Prime Minister again boasting of being a businessman and having meat sold allegedly to Barbados and other countries. You know, there is so much that we can sit here whole night and just speaks of these serious allegations that continue to affect this government. We can speak about that. We have seen, ladies and gentlemen, as we start to tighten the belt a little bit here this evening, we have seen Keith Christopher Rowley somewhere down in the west going to open some fish fry facility. Coming out of that, ladies and gentlemen, Keith Christopher Rowley was questioned by journalists. He was asked about some pertinent questions in relation to due diligence before appointing Senator, the Attorney General, Lion Amor, yes, Lion Amor, to the head of the Attorney General office, one, and also the guardian to all legal affairs as far as the government may concern, whether locally, internationally, and otherwise. We have seen the behavior of a man, and if Archie could find it, we will play it for you to listen and to see before I really get into dealing with the animosity that Keith Rowley continued to display to journalists, not saying that they don't deserve it. Not saying that they don't deserve it, you know. Because they very well deserve. It probably an oxymoron here now. But I want to highlight, first of all, the character of Keith Christopher Rowley when he was questioned. Actually, if you find it, run it for me.
Before we move away from this topic, I'd just like to understand if this is something that you would have spoken with the Attorney General about. I know you were abroad when he issued his statement and so on.
I saw at the very beginning one or two persons, especially somebody from the media, was sending me questions asking me if the Attorney General, if the Prime Minister had done his due diligence and whether the Attorney General had recused himself. I simply want to say to the population, there is a responsible Prime Minister in Trinidad and Tobago, and there's a responsible government in Trinidad and Tobago, and the public interest is well served.
A few moments later.
And Prime Minister, you made reference to a question that I would have sent you via WhatsApp.
I said that?
Yes.
You sent me a question about what?
On the due diligence aspect. So
you admit that?
Yes, I did.
So don't go any further.
So,
I advise you, don't go any further.
so let me ask you a question.
I am not going to answer you.
So I don't have any personal grudge
it
against
is not personal. I am just pointing out the role that the media is playing when there's malice. And if you believe the nonsense that somebody put on social media about me and due diligence, while I am representing this country as the Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago with dignity that you're not accustomed to, you're on your own with that. I am not going to go down that road with you. Because if there's another role you can play, you know. But you choose to play this role, and I will not go down there with you. If you know something otherwise, you print it without my comment. Is there any other question?
Sir, on March
Is there
16th,
any other question from anybody else?
The minute you oppose my good friend, Mr. Speaker, the minute you oppose my good friend, he gets very, very angry. And if you oppose him strongly, Mr. Speaker, he becomes a raging bull. And that is what this government is not prepared to. That is what it was. We just were not prepared to accept.
Hey, listen now, man. This man say that he performing the role of the Prime Minister of this country with dignity. With dignity. Rowley, you know what he meaning of that word? You know what is the meaning of dignity, Rowley? You understand what dignity signifies? Let me suggest to you, Keith Rowley, you knows absolutely nothing whatsoever about being dignified. Nothing. You do not understand that word. Because if you was a man who running this country with dignity, Keith Christopher Rowley, I am saying to you today that half of your cabinet colleagues would have not been able to sit on your cabinet. We have seen the abuse and the advantage by the recusal team, including yourself. We have seen the abuse of your language towards the opposition leader. You have described women in this country as a golf course. You have disrespected women in every form and every fashion in this country. And today you have the audacity to stand up and speak about dignity. Boy, you should be ashamed to mention dignity anywhere close to your perimeter that you occupies. You, Keith Christopher Rowley, have disgraced and disrespect the chair of Prime Minister by your conduct. We have seen you on a number of press conferences and you behave like a hooligan. You behave as one who escaped from some cage, who were penned up and cooped up for about 5 years. You behave in this country like an animal, Keith Rowley. You have demonstrated without a shadow of a doubt that you knows nothing about being dignified. That word ought to be a stranger to your vocabulary. You, Keith Rowley, have disrespected doctors, nurses, teachers, journalists, ministers, opposition members. You have degraded the parliament by your behavior and your conduct with the assistance of the Speaker of the House. You have demonstrated to the world through your parliamentary privilege that you are not a raging bull, but you are just a common goat. That is what you have demonstrated. You have conducted yourself in our parliament, a place where ought to be sanctified, a place where we make laws to govern our unborn babies. You have behaved in such a manner. You have even disrespected the speaker that you appoint. You have disrespected the whole parliament. And when you cannot get your way, you simply becomes a common goat. That is what you become. A common ram goat. That is your conduct. A bull is too precious for you to be named after. Wild goat meat may very well be expensive. The conduct and the smell of the goat is what you demonstrate by your behavior. And that we must not accept. That is what we must not accept. So when you believe that you could stand up on some podium and talk down to them journalists and them like if there is less than anybody, I am saying you have no moral authority, none whatsoever, to be speaking to those journalists like that. And while on that, I want to tell you journalists that you deserve worse treatment than what Ole getting from Keith Rowley. But Ole should not get it from Keith Rowley. Ole deserve worse treatment from people who are dignified, people who will uphold law and order, people who will speak the truth, and people who would expect journalism to be at an all-time high. People who will expect journalists to be professionals and not journalists to be P&M. And when journalists becomes PNM, then you get PNM treatment, because that is the treatment that Keith Christopher Rowley continues to demonstrate to this country and to the citizenry. It is unfortunately that is not only the PNM supporters who rightfully deserve the treatment that they are getting from Keith Rowley, but there are others like us who stood up and tried our best to have good governance, not by supporting that who all you call a prime minister. So I am saying that Keith Rowley have no moral authority to be conducting himself and speaking down to anybody in the way in which he conduct himself when he get on like a common goat. And while on that, I want to ask Keith Rowley this afternoon, for the fourth time, I want to ask you, Keith, if your behavior is reflecting questions that you may or may not have answer in the United States. I want to ask you, Keith Rowley, if you were questioned by any agents on American soil. I am asking you, Keith Rowley, if you were questioned about any particular bank account in foreign soil. That is my question to you. And you could talk to me like you speak to those journalists, because while those journalists cannot answer you because of their support and because of the money that they look for from the government in relation to their media houses, I look only for honesty, and therefore I can question and ask you at any time whether or not you was questioned by US agents in relation to any bank account. And while I on that, I may as well ask your friend Devki Singh. Devki Singh, I am asking you if you have any joint account on any foreign soil with anybody, whether it be with me, whether it be with Rowley, whether it be with anybody. I am asking you, Mr. Devki Singh, if you have a foreign joint account on anywhere in the US which implicate anybody or any one of your associates. That's my question. So Keith Rowley, don't feel that you could bully we, you could bully them, but you cannot bully we in the opposition while we conduct ourselves in the parliament with dignity. When you behave as a common goat and you believe that we cannot answer you or we cannot deal with you, well, today I want to tell you, I am not sitting in the parliament, but I will answer you on every occasion with respect and with dignity and what you deserve. I am going to treat you as a common goat. That is how I will treat you, because that is how you conduct yourself as far as I am concerned. That is my thoughts. That is my view. You are nothing less more. You are nothing more than a common goat. And Patrick Manning was right when he described your behavior, when he articulated the way in which you conduct yourself when you cannot have your way. We are seeing even through journalism, when you are forced to answer questions, the way in which you conduct yourself. What was wrong with those questions that were placed before you to answer? That journalist was asking, did you do your due diligence before appointing a man to go in a foreign court and lie? And lie. That is what the journalist was asking you. But so first you are vindictive. In my view, you went back to remind that journalist about when you had put the Integrity Commission in court. You went as far back to draw that conclusion that the journalist had put you within some picture and apparently some bars in front, and the headline were Rowley appear in court. You went back there. That is to tell you, Keith Rowley, and to tell Trinidad and Tobago how vindictive you are. That is what that tells you. You could go back there and bring that forward to tell that journalist what he did how many years back. What kind of man are you, Keith Rowley? What kind of human being? What kind of human being you are? It seems as though that while you confess that you are a geologist, and we know that geologists deal with stones, it seems as though your heart is made out of stone, Keith Rowley, because the way in which you continue to deal with this country, I am telling you, sir, come on, goat, that you have to have a heart of stone. It ain't no maybe about that. Because what kind of behavior, where you put us on the international stage, we have seen Patrick Manning. Let me back up. No, I'm starting correct. We have seen Patrick Manning on foreign soil conducted himself as a diplomat. We have seen Robinson, foreign soil, conducted himself likewise. We have seen Basdio Pandey on foreign soil conducted himself likewise. We have also seen Kamla Prasad Bisesa locally and internationally conducted herself as a diplomat. But we have seen you, Keith Christopher Rowley. Man, your conduct mean. Your conduct stinks. It is not even worthy of anyone who's sitting in a simple ministerial portfolio, much less to be the prime minister. That is an office that I am so sorry for. It's an office that the children in this country at this point in time, nobody wants to be a prime minister simply because the way in which you have degraded and decimate that office, an office that should be held in high esteem. You have break it down. You have break down law and order. You have break down discipline. You have set the stage in this country for criminality. You and the president and Bliss Sipasad, the way in which you folks have trampled upon the constitution of this country, you all have set the stage for anarchy, for chaos, for mayhem in this country, because the people, while you believe that the people in this country that they are illiterate, while some of them may not be able to read and write, Keith Rowley, they have eyes and ears, and they have one of the most important things, something that you lack as a prime minister. They have common sense. They have common sense. Something that you lack. And they have seen the way in which that you folks in some of the highest office of this land have decimated those offices, bring them into disrepute. that today law and order seems like something strange for people to obey. Every corner, every junction, every road, every highway, every street, no respect for law and order. Because you, the president, Bliss Superstar, and others, the way you all have conduct business in this country, showing this country that breaking the law, once you have a title, is not a problem. It can be swept under the carpet. And this is why we are in this condition. We are in this condition because people have seen your conduct. Some of you believe that this country belongs to you as Prime Minister and as the President, that all you could do as you please, all you could do what you want, because all you have already installed the Cosa Nostra in place. All you have those in strategic position, that you all do anything. Your conduct, Keith Rowley, is that of Maduro and that of Vladimir Putin. You all don't care about law and order. You folks believe that you can do anything in this country because of your appointments in these areas. And that is what have this country, that is what have us in the state of affairs. It is because of your governance, Keith Rowley. It is because of your rotten governance. You have led this country down a path where obscene language, just imagine, if you tell a police officer, hey boy, you is a fool, they lock you up and charge you for annoying language. But you will watch this country and tell them don't donkey the thing. And you will use all kind of phrase, all kind of annoying language. But yet, when the average man uses the same language to a police officer, the same language that you use to us, he's been arrested and pulled before the court and sometimes sent to prison or charged a fine for the language that you teach us. The language that you teach us. My son Omar, he said, Daddy, you hear what the Prime Minister said? I said, what you say? He said, the Prime Minister cuss. I said, the Prime Minister cuss. He said, yes. He said, I can't say the word that he said. Then the mother will tell me, you and your Rowley stand up on a press conference and tell Trinidad, do Jack, what did that, this thing, what? You tell me something, and you're a Prime Minister, and we ought to have respect for you. But you is a shameless man. You is a shameless man, Keith Rowley. You ought to have respect for yourself. We were taught in school, in order to get respect, you must show respect. And you expect people to have respect for you by your conduct, the way in which you deal with women in this country and degrade them to the lowest point. That is what you expect. The children will have respect in the school, and the children won't be bullying everybody. Everybody see you is the biggest bully. You is King Ram Goat Bully. King Ram Goat Bully. I have a Ram Goat in my pen. And let me tell you something, that Ram Goat bully everybody. As you hear you throw some feed in that pen, he will bully everybody until he belly full. And watch, first I know he have the character of you. When he belly done full, he's still bullying. He can't eat no more, but he's still bullying. Still bullying. You have set the example, Keith Rowley, as to how to bully in our schools. And therefore, our children will bully each other. Our children will rob each other. Our children will steal from each other. starting in the school system. You know why? Because the children in school know that those who sit in government at this point in time, they are a bunch of thieves. That is what our children know. And this is a country that we like follow fashion. If the government thieving, everybody thieving. Who thieving pipe? Who thieving cable? Who thieving water line? Who thieving in the ghost tree? Who thieving on the manholes and them on the road? Everybody thieving. You know why? Because when they watch into the government, that is all they seeing. All they see is a bunch of thieves. A bunch of bold-faced thieves who will thieve the soul of this nation. It reminds me of the ram goat. The ram goat belly full, but what they nobody else can eat. And that is the governance that we get in. The financiers pocket full, them pocket full, and the citizens could never eat. That is where we are today in our country because of the choice that you people make to vote this man, right there into office. That is the consequences for your action. So let us move on. I want to go to a very sensitive topic at this point in time. And this topic, ladies and gentlemen, I want you to pay attention. I am trying to understand how far the PNM have anchor. Which part? Who are these individuals who remain members of the Cosa Nostra?
A code, a mafiosi code. We keep each other's secret. It's only when you break rank, you go there and expose us, and for that, we're going to kill you politically. It's the code of the Cosa Nostra. As long as we stay together, we will survive together. And we agree not to breach the code of secrecy.
The code of the Cosa Nostra. That's the code. I ain't christen the word, I ain't make the word. The code of the Cosa Nostra. That is the word. Talk done. I ain't make the word. Let us get into some facts here now as we check some stuff out. So let me start here as we build this thing up. Let me see where I want to start. This, ladies and gentlemen, have to do with some information that Ravi Balgobin Maharaj, who was represented by his attorney, Senior Counsel Anand Ramlogan, in relation to the interception of a yacht by the name of Not Guilty and also the head of the TTPS legal team, a man by the name of Christian a man by the name of Christian Chandler. So let me get on into that here this evening. The Office of the Attorney General give advice to the police during the criminal investigation into Christian Chandler matter without any involvement, input, or consultation with the Office of the DPP, which is the Director of Public Prosecution. So let's move. This was confirmed by DPP Roger Gaspard, Senior Counsel, in an affidavit dated June 28, 2022, which was submitted to the High Court in a case arising out of an application for information from the DPP on this matter filed by social activist Ravi Balgobin Maharaj, who was represented by former AG Anand Ramlogan, Senior Counsel. Current local government minister Faris Alwari was the Attorney General at the time. The DPP state that his office was not consulted when legal advice was prepared by the Office of the Attorney General and tendered to the police in the Chandler matter. Now, I want all you to pay attention. I want all you to pay attention. This is serious business. This is dangerous business. Let me go. On August 2nd, 2021, Coast Guard officers intercepted a private yacht named Not Guilty off the coast of Shagaramas with a significant quantity of arms and ammunition. At the time of the interception, the head of the TTPS legal department, Christian Calenda, was on board the pleasure craft, which belonged to him, with 13 other persons. The incident at sea arose after a woman claimed she was being held against her will on the yacht. Arising out of this incident, Chandler was eventually charged under the Emergency Powers COVID-19 Regulation 2021, which made it an offense to be found at any beach, sea, river, or any similar body of water for recreational purposes. Page 2. He was also charged with willfully obstructing members of the Coast Guard and also for possession of a firearm not covered by a firearm user's license. A Sunday Express report dated October 17 stated that the Office of the Attorney General had provided advice to the police that Chandler was not in breach of COVID regulation when he was detained. I want a little listen this. Listen who giving the advice. Listen who preparing the advice for the police in this matter. Let's move on. The Sunday Express report was quoted by Balgobin Maharaj in his application and in his affidavit because he said it raises concern in him about the role of the Attorney General in this high-profile, sensitive criminal investigation. The letter of request for information was sent to the DPP by electronic mail on November 5th, 2021. Pay attention to those dates. The office of the DPP acknowledged receipt on the same day but failed to respond. We go ask the question, why just now? In view of this failure to respond, Freedom Law Chamber sent a pre-action protocol letter to the DPP on December 21st via electronic mail. And on January 7th, 2022, via register mail, notifying him, the DPP, of Balgobin's intention to apply for judicial review. On March 29th, 2020, Maraj received leave to file for judicial review. The DPP sought and received an extension of time to file his affidavit, which was filed on June 28, 2022, and in which he confirmed that he was never consulted on the legal advice preferred by the Office of the Attorney General to the police. The DPP, in a letter to Balgobin's attorney, dated June 27, 2022, submitted the response to the 4 questions posed by Balgobin Maraj and also detailed the same reply in his affidavit. Now, I want to take a quick water break while you soak this in. I ain't taking a minute. While you soak this in, and I'm coming back, and we want to know who are members of the Cosa Nostra. We want to know that.
A code, a mafiosi code. We keep each other's secret. It's only when you break rank, you go there and expose us, and for that, we're going to kill you politically. It's the code of the Cosa Nostra. As long as we stay together, we will survive together. And we agree not to breach the code of secrecy.
So as we continue, the DPP said he was informed of Balgobin's Maraj intention to file for judicial review. The DPP explained his failure to provide the requested information. So let me tell you something. First of all, ladies and gentlemen, from the inception of this letter seeking information in that calendar case, I want to ask the Director of Public Prosecution today why he took 235 days to reply, to answer 4 questions. The Director of Public Prosecution took 7 months and a half to reply to 4 questions. And it's only when now that Ravi Balgobin filed for judicial review, then and only then the Director of Public Prosecution saw it fit to reply, but reply with this excuse. So let me read the excuse. The DPP explains his failure to provide the request information. due to the very heavy workload, this is the DPP excuse, due to the very heavy workload of the department and other professional commitment, and the fact that this office is grossly understaffed by approximately 50% over the last several years, the office of the DPP has to give priority to criminal matters and therefore was unable to respond to the claimant request for information before now, he said. Mr. DPP, let me find out something here today. So what you are saying is that the office of the DPP have criminal matters to attend to and you're understaffed. But while you're understaffed and you have criminal matters to attend to, you have given advice in every occasion with the little small boy on the side of the road in a matter of hours and in a matter of days. But in this case, which deals with Christian calendar, in this matter where the Attorney General take it upon himself to advise the police, when you as the Director of Public Prosecution is constitutionally binding and bound to deal with every criminal matter, in this case, what calendar had done, I want to ask, there is nothing criminal in that. Because you say here that you had criminal matters to attend to and other, what is the nice word you use? Other professional commitment. So it seems as though that Christian calendar, it seems as though that his problem was not a criminal one. It seems as though that you did not have time to answer Ravi Balgobin, because we would have found out that the Attorney General took it upon himself and do what he have to do, but by advising the police officers without you even being aware of what was going on. That is what was hidden from us. But let's move on. So due to a heavy workload, so the DPP also stressed it for the right. So the DPP also stressed it as he continued to avoid doubt. I state, in considering the issues of whether charges were to be laid against Mr. Christian Chanja, I have acted in accordance with my constitutional mandate under Section 90 of the Constitution. Let me go on. I have exercised my powers independently, free from any outside influence, direction, or control of any person or office holder, and in my deliberate judgment, the questions that were asked, the answers is as follow. Number one, did the DPP grant permission to the Attorney General to provide legal advice to the investigative team of police officers who were investigating the events that occurred on August 5th? DPP response. The DPP responded, the DPP did not grant any such permission to the office of the Attorney General, the DPP does not have any power to grant such permission, and the granting of such permission would be contrary to the DPP's constitutional role. Question number 2. Was the office of the DPP consulted or involved in the preparation of advice tendered by the office of the Attorney General to the effect that Chandler was not in breach of the COVID-19 regulation on the said day? Answer: DPP responded, the office of the DPP was not consulted nor involved in the preparation of any advice tendered by the office of the Attorney General. Question 3. Was the office of the DPP aware that the office of the Attorney General provided legal advice to the police officers who were investigating the said matter? DPP respond: at a conference with certain police officers investigating the said matter, the DPP was told by them that other advice had been received from the office of the Attorney General. Question 4. Did the office of the Attorney General, at the time it tendered the legal opinion to the police, simultaneously provided a copy to the DPP? DPP respond: the DPP was not provided by the office of the Attorney General with any legal opinion at any time whatsoever. So let me ask a very important question. Before I go there, the functions of the DPP. The Office of the Director of Public Prosecution was established by the Director of Public Prosecution Act 1990. The Act to institute, conduct, and supervise prosecution and related proceedings. The Act provides that the office be controlled by the director, who is an independent statutory officer appointed by the executive. The director has the power mentioned in the Public Sector Management Act 1994, Section 152, in relation to the staff assisting the director. That is to say, A, the power of the head of the service related to appointments, engagement, and employment of people, and B, the power of the Director General. I'm going through a little fast because time running. I want to get to something. The director makes prosecutorial decisions on the professional basis, independent of political influence or control. The director has complete independency in relation to the operations of the DPP office. The Act requires that the director and Attorney General to consult with each other if required concerning the functions and powers of the director. The Attorney General may give, without prior consultation, must be in writing. Let me read that. I feel I missed a line. The Attorney General may give the directions to the director, but any such directions must not be given without prior consultation, and must be in writing and be presented to the Legislative Assembly and be of a general nature only and not refer to a specific case. So let me find out something. So we have a situation where the Director of Public Prosecution, who is charged with the responsibility of prosecuting all criminal matters, whether summary or indictable. That is his job. That is his baby. That is his work. But here it is, the DPP who failed to answer Ravi Balgobin by saying that there is pressing work and it takes 7.5 months, and only when Ravi Balgobin, through his attorney Anand Ramlogan, decide to file for judicial review, then the DPP saw it fit to answer the questions, and to the end of the day, answer the questions and telling us that the Attorney General, Faris Alwari office, took it upon themselves, give advice what should be charged and what shouldn't be charged, what should happen and what should happen. My question to Roger Gaspar, the DPP, today is, while all this was happening, what did you do? Is it a case where you sit in your office and cry foul and cry and tell your staff that Faris Alwari has now overpowered the director of public prosecution? Or what did you do? What did you do to correct this? What steps did you take to deal with this situation? A situation that you had to be forced to answer by threats of judicial review. Tell us. I want to know who are members of the Cosa Nostra. I want to know who is protecting who. I want to know who is keeping who secret. Because this is a serious matter which involves a high-ranking TPS officer. And you will tell me that Faris Alwari, the Attorney General, took it upon himself to give advice to the police as to what charges should be laid. Well, then you should resign as the director of public prosecution, because this document tells me that your office is independent, that your office must not be politically interfered with. But this is not the first time. This is not the first time. We have allegations of Faris Alwari preparing a document for convicted Queen Skongson Nelson, where he solicit statements from Nelson to prosecute 2 former UNC senators, giving Nelson amnesty. Whether he speak the truth or he lie, he would not be held for defamation of character, and he would not, no charges would be preferred against him. And you, Mr. DPP, you came out and tell us that you is the sole and you alone have the responsibility to cut any such deal, to dismiss or to discontinue any case in front of the court before a conviction. You have the option where you can use a criminal as a state witness. You have the option to discontinue any matter. You have the option to cut any pre-bargaining deal. How come Faris Alwari could advise the police as to if to charge or not to charge, or what to charge for and what not to charge for? And today we have not seen you as a director of public prosecution take any action against that conduct of Faris Alwari and his ministry. No, we have not seen anything. What is going on in this country? What is going on? This is a case, I am asking, where everybody is keeping everybody secret. So if Ravi Balgobin did not seek answer today, you, Trinidad and Tobago, would have never knew. You would have never knew that Faris Alwari, the Attorney General office, have now been authorized to give the police directions as to charge or not to charge. I want somebody to tell me if that that is not political interference, then what is? I am calling on the Director of Public Prosecution to resign. To resign. Because something of this nature could never be 7.5 months. 7.5 months. And that is only from the time of Senior Counsel letter on behalf of Ravi Balgobin seeking answers. That is only from that time to the response of the DPP. 7.5 months. And it took the threat of judicial review for the public to get this information. Today I want to ask, what else is hiding? What else is being hid from us? Because if today it took a threat of judicial review to get answers, then could you imagine what is being hid from us in relation to criminal conduct by government officials? We have seen a Camille Robinson case sitting somewhere between the DPP office and the Commissioner of Police office, that today we cannot hear if any charges would be preferred. We cannot hear if there is not enough evidence. We cannot hear anything. We cannot hear anything. Today, we have again investigation in relation to Foster Cummins sitting somewhere, whether it's before the police or the DPP, we do not know. But nothing, you are not hearing nothing. It's a case of the Cosa Nostra, where each other keep each other secret. It seems as though the code of secrecy do exist. But today, I am asking the DPP, I am asking Roger Gasper, the Director of Public Prosecution, I am asking whether or not he is holding any secret for any government officials in this country. That is what I am asking. Because I am saying, ladies and gentlemen, if all ain't seeing what happening in this country, then something wrong with all you. If all ain't seeing what happening, something wrong. We have had all level of allegation, left, right, center, and today nobody before the court. Nobody. Everything is being swept under the carpet. We have to fight for information. We have to dig for information. We have to threaten. Pre-action protocol letter didn't work. It took judicial review to work. I want to ask the DPP, what about that job? What about that job that he wants to hold on to? Because I remember sometime between 2010 and 15, I remember somewhere between there that the DPP was allegedly asked. He was allegedly asked. He was given the opportunity, allegedly given the opportunity to become a judge, which is more money, more everything, and he refused. And he refused. I want to ask, is that the position that the Cosa Nostra wanted him to stay? I have to ask that question. Because I cannot understand why something like this will happen in that high profile case. And we are not hearing the DPP took any action against the office of the Attorney General in a matter like this, where he was not consulted, where no information was given. They didn't even have the manners to send a copy of the advice to the Director of Public Prosecution. That is where we reach. That is where we go in. That is how far we reach. How much time I left there? How much time I left? 10 minutes? Right. That is where we reach. How could we accept that in this country, ladies and gentlemen? All these investigations just hanged up between the commissioner and the DPP office. We cannot get a court matter. We cannot get a court matter with all these allegations of wrongdoing. We cannot even hear where those documentation lie. And I'm speaking about years going, years passing, and to the end of the day, nothing happening. It leaves me to wonder how far, how broad this mafiosa code exists. How much players exist within this mafia code. Yesterday I raised concerns about all these individuals and the position that they hold, the most important offices in our country, and today we cannot get things coming out of those offices. Today we just at a loss. All we hearing is investigation continuing. That is the new Panorama song, the Road March. Investigation continuing. Investigation continuing. That is all we hearing. That is all we hearing. I am trying to find out. I am trying to find out today if these individuals is part of that Cosa Nostra. I am trying to find out that. I am asking if these individuals, if they are part of the Cosa Nostra. I want to know. I have to know. I have to ask. I have to ask. Mr. DPP, 7.5 months to answer 4 questions. And watch the answers that came out. The answers that came out is answers that will put Faris Alwari, the Attorney General at the time, will put him in hot water. It may very well amount to misbehavior. Very well amount. And what the DPP did about it? Just remain quiet. These are criminal charges, and the responsibility of these criminal charges, the advice to any criminal charge, rests in the hands of the Director of Public Prosecution. Criminal charges does not resonate in the hands of the Attorney General. That is in the hands of the DPP. The DPP is the one who is constitutionally charged with the responsibility to look after criminal matters in this country, not the politician, not the Attorney General, not Faris Alwari. Who Faris Alwari feel he is? I tell you before, we have instance where documentation service with some deal allegedly between he and Nelson. What is happening with that? What is going on with that investigation? What is going on with that? And to the end of the day, we have a Prime Minister that condoned all this rubbish, all this hogwash that passing for governance. The Prime Minister condones. The Prime Minister supports. He stands with all the MPs who have serious allegations surrounding them. he will not move one. You know why? Because the code of secrecy would be breached. And when you breach the code of secrecy, then you will be destroyed politically. And that is why the Prime Minister have to stand up with them. Because the day he throw one of them to the wolf, I am telling you, is a ton of bricks going to come down on his head. I am wondering how far this Cosa Nostra spread throughout our society. And then when we understand what is happening with white collar crime and what is happening with the big boys, just imagine a man get charged for possession of a firearm. He partner firearm. He partner who was there with him. Get charged. He plead guilty. He want to waste the court time. They remand him in custody. The man who allegedly gave the firearm, the man who had 27 guns in the house, the man who have over 800 rounds of ammunition, that man was granted $100,000 bail. You hear what I'm telling earlier? So let me wrap up with this one. The same man at one time were found with a police car escorting him with fake police, escorting him through the length and breadth of this country. I want to ask the Prime Minister if he was aware of that police car, because I have been told that all you does go and hunt and all you does go and lime. I want to find out if that police car was escorting you, Mr. Prime Minister. That is what I want to know. What is the investigation with that police car? Who get charged? Who before the court? Or investigation continuing? Investigation continuing. You see how the game does play? So with the big boys who finance the PNM, once they get locked up, investigation continuing. But the small boy, once they catch you with a gun, even though if it's a partner who lend you his gun, he remanded, you remanded, but the big boys walk free. You know why? Money talk and everything else walk. That is what is passing for governance in this country. And I'm telling you people tonight, if all you want to sit down and accept Keith Rowley stupidity and the dotishness that he passing for governance in this country, that mashing up your life and your livelihood, mashing up the future of your children, your grandchildren, the unborn babies, and this country, then you sit down right there and you take that. I gone. Good night.
A code, a mafiosi code. We keep each other's secret. It's only when you break rank, you go there and expose us, and for that, we're going to kill you politically. It's the code of the Cosa Nostra. As long as we stay together, we will survive together. And we agree not to breach the code of secrecy. A code, a mafiosi code. We keep each other's secret. It's only when you break rank, you go there and expose us, and for that, we're going to kill you politically.